Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another segment of Ask a Property Manager. I'm Eric Worrell here with Andrew Schultz. Andrew, thanks again for being on this video with us and answering some questions from our Facebook group.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So Andrew is an associate broker with Realty Edge. So he's a property manager, manages about 120 doors. And today we're going to be talking about a question that was brought to the group from Jenny. Jenny asked, do you do a final walkthrough after the tenant moves out together with the tenant or without? And she says she's in Chicago, not sure if that matters.
I'm not sure if it matters either, to be honest with you. So I would say, first and foremost, I guess check your state laws to see if you have to do an inspection, a walkout inspection with your tenant. That being said, we used to do our final walkthroughs with the tenant. And about a year ago, we stopped. And that was after I spoke with a couple of other landlords who have been doing it for a lot of years. They said that they stopped doing the final walkthrough with the tenant. The reason for the change was because it gives them the opportunity to be more thorough when they go in and do their final walkthrough. So you walk through an apartment with a tenant, you do a quick 3-minute pass, you kind of glance at every room, you miss a lot of the fine details, things that aren't cleaned, things that are broken that you didn't notice the first time around, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I'm going to say right now, don't ever hand a tenant back a security deposit at the walkthrough inspection. Terrible, terrible business practice. Don't do it.
Okay.
You've got a length of time. Some states it's 15 days, some states it's 30 days. Some states like New York,
right?
it's very ambiguous. We always just use the 30-day guideline.
Okay.
We've never had an issue with going with a 30-day guideline in New York, so that's just the guideline that we fall into. But I think the actual wording is within a reasonable amount of time, which you're right, it's super ambiguous.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of handing back a deposit at the time of inspection, because then if you go through after the fact and notice that a window is cracked or a stove burner isn't working or something like that, now you don't have any of the tenant's security deposit to use against those damages.
Okay.
So if you're going to do a walkthrough inspection with the tenant and you want to have them sign off on something, make sure that they're aware of the fact that this list may change based off of any additional damages found or anything like that. As always, big proponent of time and date stamp photos. What I would do is, if you say you have a tenant that moves out at noon on a Thursday, maybe go in on Friday with your time and date stamp photos and do your move out walkthrough the same way you did your move in walkthrough. Very detailed photo set showing any damages. It gives you that before and after photo set that we had talked about when we did the move in content. It's just take your time on these inspections, because if you hand back a deposit, you have nothing to go after. You're going to wind up either trying to take the tenant to court or something like that, and it just doesn't work out well.
Sure. Yeah. And if there was obviously something that was a decent amount of damage that they're trying to hide, it's not going to be easy to find, first pass through an apartment.
Right,
so
exactly.
Basically, to answer her question, you don't walk through with a tenant. You go through yourself. You take detailed notes, and then you
Right.
don't immediately give the security deposit back. You wait that 30 days. And also, if there's something listed in your lease, because some people specify this right in their lease, you obviously would just want to go by whatever is written in the lease as well.
Right, yeah. Like, for instance, we require our tenants to have their carpets professionally steam cleaned, like truck-mounted steam cleaner.
Okay.
We don't want somebody going and getting a rug doctor or something like that. We find that they tend to leave a lot of residue in the carpets, and they wind up looking worse than they did before you tried to shampoo them in a lot of instances.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that's in our lease that's required. And if the tenant doesn't leave us an invoice showing that work was done, we automatically order that work done and then deduct it from their security deposit.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I know a lot of people too kind of debate whether or not they want to put carpets in. A lot of people don't like them just because of the fact that there is a lot
Right.
of damage and kind of turnover with that. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Very cool. Real quick question that kind of relates to this. What has been your success in going after payments and judgments with a tenant? Say that it exceeded the security deposit, and have you had any success with that? Because I know that's a question that comes up in the group a lot as well.
It's very circumstantial. If you have a tenant, the old saying is you can't draw blood from a stone. If you have a tenant that is not working and doesn't have any money, you're probably not the only person that they owe money to. Chances of recovering money from them is pretty slim. Versus you have a tenant that maybe there were like a placement for like a work placement. Like they came into town, they took an apartment, now they're moving into a house, but they caused you a bunch of damage. If they're if they've got decent income, yeah, I would pursue that and try to get the judgment and enforce the judgment and things like that. Reason being, you're more likely to get paid.
Okay.
One thing that is worth saying is a judgment's going to stay, at least in New York, a judgment's going to stay on somebody's records for about 10 years. And then you can renew it for another 10 years on top of that. Usually when you get paid is when somebody wants to make a major purchase. They want to buy a home of their own. They want to buy an auto, something like that. And the bank says, until this lien is cleared up, you're not getting financed. That's typically when you get paid. So it's not, yeah. So I mean, it's not the worst idea, but you're going to have to spend some time. You're going to have to spend some money getting the judgment, and then you're going to have to make sure that you keep it on your calendar to renew it whenever it's going to expire, so that you can take advantage of it, assuming they decide they want to pay you.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I didn't think of that before because I've never gone through that process, but it makes sense that somebody's going to pay you when it finally pinches them enough to do it. So.
Right, exactly. I mean, and once you have a judgment, you can send them collections and everything else. We use a local collection agency out in Rochester that handles collections for us, and there's probably, if I had to venture a guess, there's probably $25,000 to $30,000 worth of bad debt sitting with them. And if they collect something, I believe the split is, I think they take 30% off the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, we look at it as basically found money at that point. So it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that insight as well. And thank you for being on another episode of Ask a Property Manager. And if anyone does have questions, I think a lot of times you get a lot of different people asking questions kind of open to the group, but tag Andrew, tag me. Sometimes it's nice to get somebody that can get you through to an authority like Andrew who can help you out too. So, all right, Andrew, take care.
Thanks, you as well.